And then the focus shifts back to the Raigon. He's overextended. He doesn't have his parry. He's gone.
Well, map 2 draft underway, and so many times the draft is, or the game is won in the draft. And that time it was a little even, but Space Station, their execution is just absolutely solid. So the Rook Ban and Iva coming out, they don't want to deal with an Averse Iva anymore. That was ridiculous.
I believe that.
Yeah.
We're going to Mount Aras Knight. That may change things. I actually would love to have seen SIGH run a Rook into this, but they won't get the opportunity.
No, they will not. Bloom picking up a Paloma here early, and then Raigon on the side of SIGH.
So Bloom's Paloma is first off nuts and really fun to watch.
Bloom's nuts, period.
More so on Blossom, but that's just a character attribute.
There you go.
The Paloma is very, very fun because it is an answer to burst damage in the form of the other side, but it also, as long as you're smart about that other side cooldown, but it also has very, very good sustained healing, almost unparalleled. I think Pastelus is a 50-50, but it is a potential complete answer to sustained damage, because unless you have burst, you are not getting through those M1 heals.
I like the pickup of Jumong here on the side of SIGH.
There's
Jumong and Raigon go so well together. The traps and then the rain of arrows on top of Raigon in your face, that's huge, and I like that pick from SIGH. On Space Station, you have Bako.
There's the burst of damage you need to get through the Paloma healing, because you can have the Raigon there with the traps, there with the rain of arrows, the steady shot just burn through. But the Bako is a pretty good answer to the Raigon.
Yeah, no, Bako's a great answer against Raigon, but I think that Jumong kind of helps balance things out for SIGH, and like you said, burst through Paloma healing and also kind of isolate. Really so good for isolating and zoning. Jumong is just all around solid. The Varesh Band coming out on the side of SIGH, and then Lucy getting picked out. I would have loved, that's exactly what I was thinking. I'm listening to ITF in my head, and I could hear him saying,
Lucy!
Like, I'm hearing him saying, SIGH,
yes,
like, ban out Lucy, ban out Lucy. That's what they did, and it'll be interesting to see what they pick up here on the side of SIGH, but the Varesh ban against Space Station Gaming, maybe expecting that for a verse. I'd love to see a verse on Varesh. I don't think I see him on Varesh that often.
Varesh is pretty nuts on Varesh, speaking from experience. Well, he's nuts on everything, but
he's good. He's great.
He is spectacular. Ooh.
Jumong and Old Door. All right.
Okay, so this is interesting because SIGH, again, have a slightly different composition, and it is more bursty because of the quicksand coming through from Ulder. They are going to rely on finding those bursts of damage versus a Paloma. That's, of course, obvious. They need to have the bursts of damage. Their weakness there, I think, is the Raigon, because Raigon is much more about starving out cooldowns. If they can find him an excellent opportunity, like you were talking about hypothetically with the Jumong, maybe with the slows coming through from quicksand, you can create magic, but it's going to have to be perfect.
Every time he engages, time travel into a snipe, you have so many, not a snipe, this isn't
steady shot. Yes.
Steady shot. Same principle.
Every time he engages, though, the Bako's just going to stomp on him.
Yeah.
And
that's the difficult part about it, because Proster is so good on Bako. He's
yep.
I mean, this whole we've always been singing Space Station's praises, but it is going to be difficult. Bako's just a harasser and getting in everybody's faces. It's going to be difficult. SIGH really going with a very combo-oriented team here, and it's going to be difficult, like you said, with this Paloma, and with this Bako that are just going to kind of wreak havoc on them.
Yeah, and I want to see, obviously, Bloom plays very aggressive supports. I want to see that Paloma using the soul transfers, further being irritating in their backline.
Yeah, give me the Spirit Rift reset Battlerite. That's great. I always love the super aggressive Paloma.
Run that.
Look, I played a fair bit of Paloma, and I run that because it's fun.
Yes.
It's so fun. I don't care if it's meta or not. It's fun to play, all right?
Yes, because you could just dive in and they think, oh, he's done.
He doesn't have a Spirit Rift.
Spirit Guide.
Yeah.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Beautiful. And full disclosure, because chat deserves to know, they're watching me. Over 90% of my thousands of hours in Battlerite are on Pearl. I'm sorry. I'm the problem.
I'm actually surprised we haven't seen... Actually, North America doesn't really run Pearl much. It's more so in Europe.
Hudat?
Or maybe it's...
Hudat plays
Hudat does play Pearl. So we don't see a lot of it in North America. We saw it once or twice in week 2, I believe. But other than that, it hasn't been a popular pick. Maybe it could have worked on the side of SIGH to kind of give them a little bit of appeal against Bako. Pearl's great for that kind of thing. But we get the old door, which means it's Combo City. And we're on map 2, TJ. And if SIGH can play aggressive, you got Rygon to try to force pressure out, but Bako just counters Rygon in that respect. It's hard to, when you have Bako open against Proster and you pick Rygon first, and SPACESTATION didn't have a melee picked. It's an interesting philosophy for SIGH again in this draft, which I think SPACESTATION won just a more balanced approach and more countering what SIGH's trying to do.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting because I think a whole lot of the focus is on the Bako.
Yeah.
If the Bako isn't able to play perfectly, there's going to be easy pressure onto the Paloma. The Paloma's not going to have somebody to bounce off of because Paloma, of course, only really excels when they have a melee to work with. They need a friend.
They give Paloma a friend, and she will give you a win. And we'll see if SPACESTATION can win map 2 and put themselves in match point and move on to the playoffs.
Already, Arcadian leading in a ton of aggressive pressure. There's the stop, but he dodges it well.
Pushed away, he's got to get out. A lot of damage coming out of Verse, doing a ton of damage to Arcadian. Arcadian doesn't have a response for it, and the trap's just zoning out Arcadian. He has to walk the whole way around, and he can't find a lot of damage onto a Verse. And again, the trade here, does he find it? Does Unimportant get that? No, now he gets pushed away here by Bako.
Is that already a Verse fighting major damage across the map?
Yep.
It's so fun to watch. And you can see that because they have, this is Bloom on Bako, interesting. Because they have Bloom on Bako, playing that aggressively, it's so hard for them to have any sort of home base, any sort of defensive safe position.
Well, it's going to be a win for SPACESTATION here as they get the kills, they get the win, and they just continue to roll in map 2. And nothing's going to stop them, it feels like. And the switch up with Proster on Paloma and Bloom on Bako. I love, by the way, that Bako skin is the GOAT.
I was giggling about that. Wasn't going to bring it up, but yeah.
There you go.
The power of a Verse there is that you don't even need the counterplay. I was saying, it's all going to be about the Bako when the Rygon dives in. The Rygon dives in, puts a lot of emphasis on dealing with the Paloma, and Verse says, okay, well, here is all of my AoE damage, and then once you've blown your parry, here is all of my direct damage. You're already at no HP, Arcadian.
A good trap right onto a Verse, but again, Proster right there to keep him alive. Actually, Unimportant doing a good job zoning out both a Verse and Proster.
Bloom will lose these sustained fights. If he just man-fights the Rygon, he will lose the trades. But he's not having to do that because he's losing slowly enough. The rest of the team should be finding value. A
good in-cap onto Oldora. Now they want to aggress onto it. Bloom wants to find a way in, but they reset. They actually got a lot of good damage to even things up. Unimportant's done a great job of zoning out both Proster
and Verse. HP.
They have nothing. Yeah, Verse has lost a ton of HP because of it.
And that's actually finding major value as again the orb goes against them. The problem though is Arcadian's been the front line, has created all of that, and he has nothing remaining.
Big stun. The time travel giving him out. Can they get a big stun on it? No, he other sides him away. And so what looked like was death, and then almost a turnaround. Solid play from Proster and SPACESTATION Gaming.
He's so low.
Staying alive. He's somehow
the shifting sands.
This shifting saves him. And Bloom does not care. Bloom trying to 2v1 this. They have no health. Burying it out, the bulwark comes through just to reposition. Big damage, and SPACESTATION has turned this around big time.
That was some of the best play I've ever seen Dexterian make. I don't think it's enough, though, because in the meantime, complete control has been seized. And SPACESTATION Gaming get them in control, reset their HPs, and win the round.
That was just, it looked like it was SIGH's round to lose. They had the zone onto a Verse. They were picking down a Verse for so long. They got him down to about 20% HP, and then after that, it was just a big stun onto Arcadian that allowed them to push forward, because all of a sudden, now Unimportant has to shift focus. He's like, there's a lot of pressure being put on by Bloom. I got to get him off of Arcadian, and then they just pushed right up, and it was hard for SIGH to come back from it.
It was all about that EX game, it felt like, because the second they had Heroic Charge, and big value found with it by Bloom. The second they had the Dragon Slayer, there was no hope in mid-control against SPACESTATION Gaming.
SPACESTATION still rolling, looking for a way in. It's really been the battle of the Jumongs here. Just trying to find the advantageous trap and pushing it through Arcadian, taking a lot of damage against Bloom. Bloom pushing right through, and there's just more damage coming out from Averse, and just kind of pocketing Averse is Proster. He's like, I'm just going to sit next to you because you're doing tons of damage here, but now switching
heroic charge?
The heroic charge! Oh. Smash to the ground! You can't run from me, says Bloom, and big for Space Station Gaming.
There's nothing you can do if you're trying to match Paloma in terms of trade, although they almost get that. In terms of trade support, you are going to lose if you go heal for heal against a Paloma, and that's what the game they started.
Yeah.
Because they're just kind of challenging exactly the same game. I want to see Dexarian get higher damage scores. I want to see him kind of pushing forward, because right now he's playing very passive, as is the whole team. And that's losing them the game versus the steady Paloma support.
And I think part of the reason is at the start of game number 2, we saw, or game number 3, excuse me, we saw Averse. He immediately went up and got a steady shot onto Unimportant. And so when you already get damage, like as soon as you get to the center of the map, it might be forcing Unimportant to stay back because he feels that pressure immediately from Averse.
SIGH, well, as a result of that, have continued to play very, very careful, and that's the exact opposite of what we outlined as what they had to do. Given that they don't have a sustained healer, they need to be forcing out bursts of damage.
Arcadian is able to get a lot of value on this Rygon, wanting to aggress, and SIGH actually get this orb here, pushing it right through to them, and Bloom trying to get something. SIGH is keeping this in their favor. They have the health advantage, and then a big trap and the rain of arrows coming through to get damage onto Unimportant, but they're still being pushed back, losing a lot of health, trying to get into it. Arcadian getting stunned, but not a lot of value. Bloom in trouble. Bloom going down, pushing him right through. Bloom gonna war shot to try to stay alive, and they immediately turn onto Averse. Averse in a little bit of trouble, but able to get out of it. The big trap, can they turn it around? Space Station put on their back heels. Stellar play by SIGH.
This was too aggressive from Space Station Gaming. They played over aggro at the start of this round.
Oh my gosh, the Ancestral Spirit keeping Bloom alive. Warshot keeping them
Oh,
still.
Quicksand!
Somehow, the Quicksand isn't going to get the kill onto Bloom. They're just hanging onto their life.
Arcadian's low. He did caps!
And Space Station Gaming get the first kill. Oh my goodness, what a turnaround. The huge end cap, like you said.
Dragon Slayer comes through as well.
Wow.
Averse finds the second.
Wow.
Space Station player insanely over-aggressive, get insanely punished for it, and then just say, oh, hold up, let's play this game seriously, let's play safe. This isn't easy, and as a result, they're able to take themselves to match point.
I love it. The aggression from Bloom when he was already beaten, he was just being beat to a pulp. And he's like, you know what, I have Valiant Leap. Whoop! And then just bam, stun, in cap, goodbye, good night. That was impressive. Way to go, Space Station.
The fact that he finds that in cap saves the round. Otherwise, Arcadian stays safe.
Yeah.
And otherwise, they win the round just because of the matchup being played correctly. When the over-aggression came through, Bloom suffered big bursts of damage like this, which is how SIGH win.
Taking advantage of Bloom getting
Other side
aggressive on the stop. And now being zoned out again. They're trying to get Proster away from the fight. They're going to take advantage of Averse, taking a lot of big damage. Bloom also taking damage. They were able to keep Proster away, and they're still doing it. Unimportant does not want him in the fight. Bloom taking a lot of damage as well, almost surrounded. The Bulwark coming out, not going to cause anything, as the parry also keeping Bloom away.
Look at the aggression from Unimportant. He's playing in that front line, and that's making a major difference. Now they have the follow-up damage always on the Rygon's engage. That is what we need to see.
We saw Space Station here before. Another big in cap. Bloom, do they get that orb? They do again, so Space Station get both of these orbs. On the other side, getting Bloom out of harm's way again. You can't count Space Station out at this point. One big in cap.
Oh, that's good! Oh, that's good!
Get to him, panicked away, and that's actually unfortunate. The panic going to the other side, pushing him back into safety, which could have been a confirmed kill for Space Station.
It's not enough. There still is an HP lead for SIGH, but
Bloom.
only if they can make this orb, and only if they can continue to convert like this, especially against the full EX of Averse.
Averse has to stay back a little bit, taking a lot of damage. That other side now down for Paloma. The rain of arrows. Bloom doesn't have a lot here. If they can isolate him, it would be huge.
Arcadian's playing so safe now. This is losing them the round. They need Arcadian to keep playing
Bloom
aggro.
with a big hop with the parry.
The time travel.
Where's he gonna hit? Boom!
Yes!
Good. He got him. Jumong Averse is down, and SIGH looking to finally take a round. Bako's gonna go down, and Proster, the last remaining member of Space Station, and SIGH showing signs of life.
That was the screw it we were looking for.
Yeah.
Final rounds, they say, okay, there's nothing to lose, play aggro. Then it works. My worry is perhaps that was only brought on by the fact that they felt the pressure had lifted. Now they figured out a way to win. Do they manage to repeat it?
And I think that you had said, Arcadian, you wanted him to get more aggressive, but
Yes.
Bloom did, I think, exactly what SIGH, I think, thought that Bloom was going to do, what they did that won them round 4, which was he's going to leap in, he's going to try to get a big in cap again, try to bait it, and then Bloom went in, and that's exactly what happened. And then they were able to aggress on the Jumong. They were separated, and so now Space Station, again, they have a lot of buffer room to work with here.
This is Bloom far too far forward.
He's getting a little bit of value out of this.
He
Bloom
should
has to
be
get
punished.
out. He is not punished, though. The other side coming through, and a Valiant Leap, so that's a lot of defensive cooldowns.
He's got
pushed
to
down. He
cycle
doesn't
back.
care.
Yeah.
He's just going to keep going, pushing through all door, getting bullied into the corner.
That's insane.
And the unimportant guy
That is
annihilated
insane.
on the other side. Bloom just blocking out any kind of support.
What is
Station
this?
Gaming dominant.
That is insane! Bloom should have just been annihilated. He pushed in, he spent all of his cooldowns. It was a while until that other side came through, and yet Arcadian couldn't. He should have honestly stayed in the front line. Even though his team was losing, he should have stayed in the front line and relied on Unimportant to turn it around by himself, because when he fell back, then it was just a complete collapse. Then there was nothing to stop the tide of Space Station Gaming from continuing to push forward, continuing to create opportunities, and work as a 3-man unit to disassemble his team.
Bloom has a nutty Baco.
Yeah!
I like his Baco.
We're using the word nutty alongside Bloom a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's because, you know, something about trees and acorns and things like that. But Space Station Gaming going up 2-0 in this best of 5 maps. We will